Hey everyone, Jack here on the path. I thought I'd actually change the the title of this channel to Jack on the Path. While we are still all spiritual soldiers, I thought that this would just be a little bit more personal, I say, in the sense that staying on the path. And I think we are still all spiritual soldiers on the path, but just changing it up. I think it's a little more personal per se. So, welcome back to the path. And today we are on day 11 of our consecration to Saint Joseph. Today's was very cool. The topic of today's was spouse of the Mother of God in Saint Joseph. So, really, this talked a lot more about how Joseph. I mean, look at this fellow right here, typically depicted as a little bit older in a lot of his depictions, and how this, it's not necessarily a sense of it's challenging this, but it's just reflecting on the sense of Joseph was probably a very young man actually when he married Mary and got together with Mary. Mary was probably around maybe 16 or 17 when she had Jesus, according to this, and I suppose according to the Bible. Not a theologian here, so feel free to sound off in the comments if I'm off base on that one. And oftentimes, it seems like Joseph was kind of depicted as an older man to better get over the hurdle of Joseph's chastity and Mary's virginity throughout her whole life, and thus having Joseph be a chaste guy as well. And so I suppose that it's easier to make the argument, well, if he's an old man, it's easier for him to be chaste than if he were a young man. But on the contrary, Joseph would have needed to be a young man in order to take care of Jesus and Mary, and especially raise Jesus until Jesus was 30 in order to get into his ministry. Like, think about it. If Joseph was this old, sickly old fella, let's say Joseph, let's just say, hypothetically speaking, Joseph was 50 by the time that when Jesus was born. By the time Jesus is beginning his ministry, Joseph is 80. Joseph is an old man, and even at 50 years old, I mean, I'm sure Joseph was taking care of himself well, but even at 50, that's a lot of work to be bringing the Son of God all around town and teaching you how to be a young man. And you would have to imagine that Joseph would have also had to be a very good model for Jesus of how to be, a mortal man on earth. And if Joseph is this 50-year-old kind of like aging man, he might be kind of tired and forgetful and just the general um, ailments of aging. And so this just really kind of speaks a little bit more into Joseph having to have a lot of vitality and youth in order to be a great spouse to Mary. And this also kind of goes into just like the gentlemanly nature of Joseph. Joseph being probably the best example of how to be a gentleman and taking care of Mary there as well. Now, it doesn't necessarily go into specifics here in this particular reflection today, but this is all just kind of going into the fundamentals of Joseph was the spouse of the Mother of God. And so, in turn, with that, he's a great model of being a spouse to our partners or eventual spouses in the future there too. And I think the way that I can kind of relate to this, just being a single guy, but definitely on this uh, consecration to Saint Joseph reflections, is a lot of this relates to how Joseph had to be healthy, and Joseph had to be strong and have vitality to him in order to take care of the Holy Family. So how can we do this ourselves? How can we model St. Joseph in order to be a great spouse to our spouse, but also to be a father to our children and spiritual father to those around us through St. Joseph, taking care of ourselves, having that vitality, that youthful vitality, as long as we possibly can in order to take care of that family. So this all just kind of goes into, you have to take care of yourself very well. You have to eat healthy. You have to exercise regularly. You have to make sure that you're also taking in healthy content and having a healthy digital diet, as we would say in 2025. And so all of this in the spirit of making sure that we are taking care of our spouse and our partner and our children, and then those that are around us. Now, this also kind of relates into the chastity aspect of Joseph, and this plays into his inner strength and fortitude from a chaste perspective, and leaning into that celibacy and chasteness with him being young. So that adds an extra layer of strength here to St. Joseph in saying that Joseph was also chaste his whole life. And that's really hard for a young person to do. And so that's why we can also lean on St. Joseph for those particular virtues in visualizing him as a young man, as the spouse to Mary and the father to Jesus, while also being chaste and avoiding necessarily like those types of temptations. And so Joseph is a great person that you can pray to and lean on to for help in that area of your life there too. So I think that's just like a great model to consider on that front. And yeah, this just kind of plays into, not that, we're trying to say like we're smarter than an artist that depicts Saint Joseph as like an old man, but this just encourages us to just think one layer deeper into there and say, well, hey, if Joseph had to take care of Mary and Jesus and get them through Egypt and teach Jesus how to be a young man and raise that whole family, he's going to need some legitimate life energy in him. So, if he's this old decrepit guy, that kind of does him a disservice of how much he had to do and sacrifice just as a man. So visualizing him as a young man is actually really impactful and deep in that consideration to how we should be and how we should try to model our lives, just like St. Joseph. So St. Joseph, healthy. He had to have a lot of vitality in order to take care of that family, a lot of energy to do so. So we ourselves need to do that too. We need to preserve our energy and take care of ourselves well by eating a healthy diet and exercising regularly, in order so that we can live a long life and we can take care of our family with vitality and not from depletion. So that's just a kind of a really good, that relates to me. I'm really focused a lot on my health right now, and moving forward for life, and I'm doing a great job. Over the past 2 years, I've really had a big emphasis on taking care of my fitness and my diet and everything about my lifestyle. Things like quitting drinking and things like focusing on regular exercise and new training modalities and discipline, virtuous discipline in my diet and my exercise. St. Joseph is a great example of, trying to maintain your youth in order to take care of your family very well, because that's really the right thing to do. And so there's some kind of aspects that we can go into here where he's just a model for us as men. He is the best example of what it means to be a true gentleman, because he's the one taking care of the Holy Mother Mary this whole time as well. And God trusted Joseph in order to do that. And so God's putting a lot of that really means a lot. If God is putting a lot of trust into one particular fella to take care of the mother of God, the mother of Jesus, he's got to have a certain level, probably the highest level of respect, dignity, and being a gentleman and a man for Mary. So I think this is a really impactful way to kind of think about this. And I'm going to read this last portion, and we will go from there. So I wonder if I can take a quick. No, I can't pause the video. My mom just texted me, and it seems kind of important. So I will. I'm going to actually stop this video right now, I guess, in the spirit of like, taking care of the mother of God. I want to take care of my mom here really quick. So I'm going to just upload 2 videos today. The first video is just going to effectively be this reflection. And then the second video, I will do the reading for day 11. So thanks for sticking around, and I'll have that second upload coming in just a minute. Watch it after this. Thank you.